Hey guys, during the motor testing, you may have noticed that when you throttled up one of these motors, it didn't map to the correct location that was on this image. We've noticed that the Emax Hawk Pro ESC has to be remapped to the correct location. The motors are in a different location. So there is a way to do that. And in order to know how to remap the motors, you need to understand the CLI line or the command line. This is used to configure more expert settings that you wouldn't normally see in the GUI or the graphic user interface over here. So if you can type get GPS and you can look at different settings for GPS or set GPS and change things. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be resourcing, is what it's called in Betaflight, the motor locations. Now you can do that just by looking at the motors and figuring it out, but there's a shorter way to do it. And what we're going to do is go to emax-usa.com, search for the Hawk Pro PNP version, and scroll down to the bottom for the CLI dump. And if you click on that, you'll get this large text file. And right here at the top, these resource motors, we only need 1 through 4, but resource motor 1 to C08 is how we're going to be doing that. We're going to go ahead and copy all 4 of these at the same time, bring them over here into the CLI line, paste them, and hit enter. And after you've hit enter, it'll go through and do each of those. It'll resource them. And we'll go ahead and type save and hit enter, and it will disconnect the drone and reconnect. And then let's go ahead and go back into motors, and I'm going to plug in the battery. And we'll go ahead and check them and see if that worked. I understand the risks. The props are not on. Motor 1 should be the back right, and it is. Motor 2 should be the front right, and it is. And motor 3 should be the back left, which it is. And motor 4 should be the front left, which it also is. So we have resourced or remapped the motors to reflect the correct locations for them. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery. So if you want to change the motors, if you want to remap the motors on your drone and you don't have a handy list of code or commands from the manufacturer, so what you'll do is you'll come down here and type resource show. And then it'll show you all of the resources. And what you can do is you can come in here and look, and right here you'll see C06 motor 2, C07 motor 4, C08 motor 1, C09 motor 3. And so what you would do is if you went into the motors tab and you had the diagram pulled up which showed you which motor was supposed to be where, you would just have to take note on which motor was in the incorrect spot. So for example, if you had motor 1 in the motor 4 spot and it needed to be in the motor 3 spot, then you could write in here in the command line resource. So I'm going to put motor 3, resource motor 3, and I want it to be in the motor 1 spot. So I'll look right here, the motor 1 is in C08, so I'll type C08, and then I'll hit enter, and now it is assigned. And so now it has worked. So once you've entered resource motor 3 to C08, now motor 3 is going to be on what was previously the motor 1 spot. So you'd want to make sure to do it to all 4 motors before saving it. That would remap or resource. It's essentially what you're doing is you're telling the flight controller to communicate with the ESC and say that motor 1 is in the motor 4 place or motor 3 is in the motor 2 place or whatever you need to do. And that way you'll have your motors in the correct place according to the figure. And your drone won't do what's called a flyaway, which is essentially when the motor's arm, it thinks something's wrong and it just disconnects, it disarms itself. So that'll do it for motors. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know and have fun flying.